Okay, great. Okay, so I need to host as well as facilitate. So, hi guys. Welcome to Quick Connect Live, where we share, learn, and grow together as a community. We meet fortnightly to discuss personal development topics ranging from psychometric tools to psychological methods to performance hacks. It is hosted by Alex, who you see over there, Jeffert, who is not here, and me, Ethan, to share more. And we do all these different things, right? So today we're gonna cover the topic of the irony of this thing called values, right? There's this other side of it called anti-values. That I coined because there was a very little understanding about this area for quite a long time. And the easiest way I can help people discover what I was actually talking about it in the opposite of a values way. But in order to discover a bit more about this, I shall give a bunch of exercises for everybody to go on today so you can discover what it means, how it manifests, and what are the different things. But before we go there, I would like to I will be your host. I'll also be your facilitator for today's session, while Alex will be scribing. So that's where, Alex, would you like to introduce yourself?
So hi everyone. Most of you probably know me by now. My name is Alex. I help people discover, decipher, develop their talents and strengths so that they can maximize their performance at work, improve relationships, increase overall well-being. So I represent Strengths Alchemy, which provides training, coaching, and facilitation for people.
Great. All right. Yeah. So it's my turn to share. So I'm Ethan. I do a lot of random things, including cybersecurity, as you can see from here. I support Quick Connect because I came from a lot of culture and trauma-based way of looking at the world. And that's where a lot of the topics really come from. So today's topic actually comes as a pet topic of mine, where I'm trying to get people to recognize that the way we think is not the way that we think we think. And I use the word,
A little bit of background for those of you who didn't join us the last round, right? So yes. Last round, we spoke about Ikigai. And in Ikigai, we actually, it's the Japanese concept for the reason of being, right? And we talk about
values,
what you're passionate about, what Ikigai covers what you're passionate about, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what the world will pay you for, right? Yep. The intersection of these four. So as part of the discussion 2 weeks ago, we started exploring, well, where does values come in, right? So we started to dig in a little bit about how do you identify values, or how do you identify what's important to you? And along the way, we started saying, hey, Ethan would be the perfect person to talk about this because he has this wonderful pet topic of values and anti-values, right? And I'll leave him to explain what that is, because when he first explained it, it made a lot of sense. It was new to me, and it made a lot of sense to me. And from our anti-values, it actually helps us to move towards what our values are and develop it as well. So it's a very interesting topic. And I think today it's going to be very interactive because you can see all your names there on Miroboard. Yes. And we will kind of explore it a little bit. I don't know how Ethan's going to take us through, but I know he'll take us through something.
Yeah, but you can always scrap on the other side of this also. So just to arrow you a bit more, right? So, okay, just before we go full on into the mirror, right? I want everybody to share what you think values and what you think I mean by anti-values as a result, right? What values are to you, and what do you think I mean by anti-values as a result? If I can have Alex, you the first time you heard it, what do you think anti-values was about? Before we move on to other people. Values, what is values, and what does it mean to have anti-values?
I'm trying to remember okay, so imagine that I didn't know anything, right?
Yeah.
Just by the words alone, to me, values are, well, things that are important to us. They're like honesty, integrity, things like that, right? I think they're also highly tied to our beliefs of what's important, right?
Yep.
So what our values are, like what guides us. So when Ethan, you mentioned the term anti-values, I just assumed that it was the opposite of values.
Which was?
Right, the non-values.
Like cheating, stealing, this kind of thing, right?
Yeah, so the opposite of what a value might be. That was my first
that's a great way of looking at it. That's a great answer to, yeah, this is how usually people go, oh yeah, that's what it is, right? Like that's where it's a little bit interesting when we discover a bit more. Thank you, Alex, for this.
Linguistically, anti just means opposite. So
yeah, and functionally it actually works that way. Yeah. So this is where the fun part is. So let's go to Ellie. Ellie, what do you think? What are values to you, and what does anti-value sound like to you?
Anti-values and values and anti-values are clashing, means they don't sit well with each other. It's like a bipolar disorder,
Okay.
one end to another end, if you put it that way.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting way of putting it. That's not bad. Okay, Faith, what do you think values are and what are anti-values?
Values are the guiding principles that we live by.
Mhm.
Anti-values, I see it as being against a certain value that people have.
Okay, that's very interesting. Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Colin, what do you think? What is values and what do you think anti-values is?
Sorry, I had some problems just now. This is
Nice.
a computer I haven't used for some time. So, okay.
Okay.
So values, I guess, would be like what is important to us. Yeah, anti-values, I really have no clue.
What does it sound like to you? What does it sound like to you when you think about it? Anti-values.
Yeah, like the dark side, I guess.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. So it's quite counterintuitive for people to value any anti-values, right? So there's
Okay, just think about Jedi and
the dark side, yeah.
Yeah.
And the Sith, yes. Mel, what do you think are values? And then what are values to you and what do you think anti-values are? You're muted right now. Let me.
I would think values are life's guiding principles and they're usually positive. So maybe like honesty. I'm not sure if beauty is a value, but yeah, beauty, honesty, integrity.
Mhm.
Whereas anti-values are like they're self-sabotaging in nature. They have like a negative connotation to it. Yeah. So probably, I don't know, greed, jealousy.
Mhm.
Not sure if jealousy is a value, but yeah. Dominance.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I can think of.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Thank you for that. Yura, you just joined us, but if you could share what do you think, what are values to you and what do you think anti-values are?
Hi, sorry I'm late.
No worries.
My son is in the background, so pardon the background.
No worries.
Babies are children are wonderful, so it's all welcomed.
Thank you. So sorry, the question is, what do you think my values are?
What do you think values are? What are values to you? And then what do you think anti-values are, since it's the topic of the day?
Right. So I think personally, values are something that really really resonate with you based on how you would react, how you would decide, make a decision, what you appreciate, and also how I think it's more of your traits, your personality too. And the anti-values are something that you don't believe in, that you don't agree.
Cool.
Yeah. Is it okay?
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. Okay, great starting point. Okay,
Thank
thank you for that, Yura. Thank you for everybody for your thoughts. I think this is where I will start going in a little bit more into the topic, right? Let's start with why I came up with the concept of anti-values. Because I started realizing that 3 people that you talk to who say they all value honesty have very different ways of showing honesty. Some people say half truth is not honesty. Some people say half truth is within the space of honesty because you're still being honest. The last person was actually the person who went, anything other than the utmost, most honest, most brutal way of saying things is not honesty. Right? So there's so many ways of looking at values. True. Would you guys agree with that? Right? So when you look at Alex's empathy, right? It seems like a value on its own. But remember, right, in StrengthsFinder, we also learned that, there are ways in which it starts backfiring on you. How do you explain that? How do you make that a possible ground for you to explore a bit more as to, hey, wait, why do people end up that way?
I think it's a bit different. So talent team
yes,
is kind of your pattern. Then from there, you can derive a value from it.
Absolutely. No. So I'm just going to use this. A lot of people value empathy. I'm just using your talent team that happens to be people naming it as a value.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Let me cut the definition a bit more. Right? Nobody values individualization. So that's a different story, right? But a lot of people value empathy. I value empathetic people. I value, this empathy for people, right? That's what people say, right? Again, the way it comes out, like nobody values ideation or strategic, but they value being strategic or value people who are forward thinking or fast thinking or concepts like this.
Or they could value creativity or creativeness.
But the word is very interesting because the way we nuance the word is also very interesting, right? So what I did was, when the more I honed down into the parameters of what a value means, this is when I started discovering actually most people's values are by what is not. So honesty is not lying, or honesty is not omitting the truth, or honesty is not this, honesty is not that. Have you noticed for a lot of people? Most things in terms of values are actually more defined by what they're not than what they are. In most people's minds, they spend more time going, this is not da 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 da, more than this is that. Would you agree or disagree? Feel free to.
Is it because of the 10 commandments? It's like, thou shalt not lie. So that one, then your value is like honesty. You shall not lie. Then thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's whatever. Then so
Yes.
Integrity is like, you shouldn't be jealous of your neighbor's possession.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most of us define values by the opposite side. We don't define the values within itself. Ellie, do you have thoughts? Because you started unmuting, so you may have some thoughts.
I'm listening first, further down, then I'll make a comment. Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. So the fun part about this is when I realized this, right, in conversation with people, because 5 people can talk about love, but the love comes out completely differently, right? And my favorite way of looking at this is, if you define things by the opposite of what they are, okay, it's like, do not think of the pink elephant. What happens?
You think of a pink elephant.
Yep. So if I define honesty by not lying, what am I thinking of?
Lying.
And that's what anti-values are. It means I'm anti something. So a lot of you are within that zone. Your definition of your values are based on what is not first. Until you learn to let go of what is not, you can never have the value that you think you see. How many of you say that you value honesty but always feel yourself surrounded by liars? Or you can spot lies very quickly and you can identify it all the time. And you know when a person is lying to you. Okay, so a person who values honesty on the strict definition of this wouldn't care that people lie. Because they seek honesty. So they go, why do you lie? Tell me more. They'll create honesty. So on my level of understanding values of what I look for, in my sense of what I view values as, I have a very different definition of value. Value is what I seek to create, not what I value in other people or what I value as in what I want more of. No, what I create. So if I counter it with that statement, the separation between values and anti-values becomes stark. Value is what I create. Anti-values is what I'm trying to avoid. While most people talk about the typical values that they value, they're expecting it from reality means they're avoiding the opposite side, which is the anti-values. Does this make sense for you guys? Again, while most people are looking for love, they're looking for not being lonely. Not feeling like they have no one to talk to. Not feeling like they have nothing to do on Friday nights. A lot of reasons why people might go on an app to look for love can be due to the pain of something rather than seeking of something more. You can disagree.
Sorry, I believe current dating scene, I mean using apps and stuff like that, is built more on a convenience level because everybody is quite busy and you don't really meet people around your circle, which is why, but you need a companionship. Just that it doesn't appear around your circle. Then you use the card. It's more on a convenience level. So I will say that it's very, very in terms of your, because this is, I wouldn't say it's nothing to do with the value or anti-value. It depends on what are you seeking and what kind of outcome you are looking at. Back again.
Absolutely. No, so that's exactly okay. So that's the interesting part. I mentioned this as a statement of what's possible. It can be. Doesn't mean it is the case, right? So depending on the app you're on, each app is a bit different in terms of the kind of people you see on there. But I think more importantly is what often drives people is very often not the so-called value that they're seeking or creating, but very often the anti-values that they're trying to avoid.
So it's more a matter of what your focus is, right? Are you focused on the value or are you focused on the anti-value? So I think what Ethan, correct me if I'm wrong, is saying like in a relationship, right? Are you seeking for like, it sounds like it is effectively two sides of the same coin, right? So are you focused on companionship or are you focused on not being lonely? Are you focused on what you want or are you focused on the fear? Right? Is that?
Absolutely. And you got it perfectly right. So I would even go down the path of saying, are you looking for, okay, is this driven by your avoidance of pain? Or is this driven by what you wish to create? And judging by your behaviors and your thought patterns, you can actually identify what you truly value or what you're trying to avoid. So this is an identification exercise more than anything else. Because while a lot of us think that we value certain things, one of the most interesting phenomenon was whenever I shared this with people and they started realizing why they're repeating the same cycles in their lives, why they seem to have the same kind of people in the process. Yeah. So what you think you desire the most might not be what you're creating in your own lives because you might be focusing on avoiding the other side rather than creating the value that you're looking for. So here's the difference. One focuses on I'm avoiding loneliness, avoiding this, avoiding that, right? The other side focuses on creating. So this is where I'm going to differentiate. Typically, what people label as a value, typically it comes in the form of not the other. So when people say they value family, very often, if you notice what most parents talk about is family is must stick together. You cannot tell other people outside. You cannot. There's no such thing as what family is focusing on in terms of building something more together as a family. It's more about you cannot do this. You must listen to me. You cannot not listen to me. You cannot, because the family is, if you notice, most of the language is negative. Again, this doesn't apply for all, but if you notice, this is a very common trend. Most values are formed by the principles of what it is not than what it is. Which then becomes a very interesting part. Again, let me repeat this. Do not think of the pink elephant, right? How many of you thought of the pink elephant? I'm pretty sure everybody did, at least even the word pink elephant, right? So if you are spending all your time avoiding not hitting those walls, I'm avoiding those things, what's the chances I'm thinking of it? All the time. And this is when you start moving closer and closer towards it, which is why we talk about the word interference, right? All the way back 4 weeks ago, actually even now 6 weeks, right, Alex? We were talking about performance is potential minus interference. A lot of interference comes from us thinking about the negative while trying to do the positive.
Yeah, and the thought came to my mind, right, when you said about what we focus on and we kind of create it. So there's this saying that I heard a long time ago that what you focus on expands. So if you focus on the negative of what you're trying to avoid, you actually create it, right? So you create more fear, you create more negativity, or you probably, if you are doing it because you are trying not to feel lonely, you might feel lonely in the process of doing it. That makes sense. Okay, yeah, but I think that's kind of what
That's very good. No, so yeah, very perfect. No, actually, the way you described it is very awesome because then you are focusing on the fact that you're feeling lonely most of the time rather than the connections you might have with the person in front of you. So a person who might feel lonely, who is always surrounded by people, might be focusing on the fact that they feel lonely, even with people around them, rather than focusing on creating the connection they can have with the next person in front of them. So if you're for, empathy and whatever, but you're anti-loneliness, you will find loneliness everywhere you go, no matter how much empathy you're looking for.
I don't agree. I feel that they are not mutually exclusive. So like if you are attempting to overcome loneliness, yeah, I mean you're attempting to like avoid loneliness, so you overcome it like in a positive manner. So it's, I don't think you will attract even more loneliness. You will.
No, you actually end up seeking it. You will start finding it appearing in different places, even if you're not looking for it. So what I mean is, right, actually, anti-values are a very unconscious process of how we look at what are values. So when I use this one, okay, so let me just go down the path of a classic elitist way of looking at things. I'm sorry, I'm just going to go down the path so it's easier to talk about because it's a lot more jarring for people to see. I like to use the value called intelligence. I like to use the value called intelligence because intelligence is, okay, so some people say that intelligence is having good grades. Or to be exact, not getting bad grades. So one of the common ways of looking at intelligence could be, I'm anti bad grades. So this might be the focus of that person, that they are trying to avoid having bad grades at all costs. They might not attract bad grades because they might study well enough to get good grades, but their mind is very often interfered by the thoughts of bad grades. So this is where anti-values comes into the picture, because you start noticing that the person might have anxiety about ever scoring lower than a certain grade as their focus, as they're studying, as they're doing certain things.
But why can't it be couched in a positive fashion? Why can't it just be like, okay, I would like to set for myself like 70 and above, as opposed to I do not want to get below 70. Why not? I would like to get above 70.
Great.
So
It's
a matter
reframing
of,
your thoughts, right?
it's a matter of focus, right? And
It's
like
a matter of reframing your thoughts and like changing that mindset.
So I think what's really interesting here is that, right, I'm not saying what is good or bad right now. I'm not saying what is good or bad. This is how most people already think, whether or not they're recognizing it. It's not, I'm telling you that you are like this kind of person, okay? No, I'm not saying that. It's here's a way of defining it so you can put words to it. There are people who are anti-bad grades. There are people who are for creating good grades. Know the difference. The one who is anti-bad grades gets anxiety about getting bad grades. A person who's for good grades might not care about getting bad grades. They go, okay, I'll learn the next round and do better the next time. Do you know what I mean?
So you're saying these two people exist, right? I mean, you're not saying that, because just now from what you explained, I thought that you were saying that a value
not all people. I say it can.
Okay.
Yeah, but I appreciate this because that clarification is very important, because again, here are the possible outcomes that it can be. So I go back to this, right? It can come in the form of, and the interesting part is I use intelligence. I'm not even talking about good grades, but there are a lot of elitists who believe that if you have bad grades, you are dumber and you're not worth my time. There are people who think that way. And because they're anti-bad grades, they avoid people or avoid themselves having bad grades at all costs. There are people who think like this. Whether or not I agree with them is a different story. I definitely disagree with them. But to a lot of people, they judge people by their grades. So this is an example of how this forms. A lot of people say they value something, but what they are really against is this other thing. What they are is actually they're against this other thing. So when they say they value intelligence or they value honesty or they value certain things, there is a form of it for a lot of people, not all, that comes as the form of what it is not. And they focus on what it is not to define what it is. So for example, you are intelligent if you have no bad grades. If you have bad grades and you never went to a good school, you're not within the category of what I deem as intelligent because I demarcated. I'm not even looking at you as a person. I'm not having a conversation with you. I'm not discovering what you can do. I'm not interested in knowing your intelligence level in terms of your wittiness, your ability to manage different situations, your ability to understand a cognitively heavy topic. I'm not going by that. I'm just going to look at you and go, you have bad grades, you went to a bad school, therefore you're not intelligent. That's how a lot of people value things. Not all, but a lot of people do. That's what I'm referring to. So this is a behavior that's very common because most of us typically go by what it is not to define what it is. So for example, one of my favorite statements that somebody values is this word called passion. Okay? Most people are seeking passion. Let me just ask in this space, how many of you believe you have found your passion? Okay, 1, 2, great. Okay, so one of the most interesting things about this is passion is one of those words. Ellie and Alex, great for you guys. You have found your passion. Great. You probably found your way there, created it along the way, and actually found. Let me ask you a question. Did you find it or did you create it? Alex. Alex first. Because if not, later he describe your statement.
I think it's a combination of both. So there's exploration part, right? It's like talents. So there's exploration part of what you do, and the more you do, you kind of find it. And then as you do more and more of it, so like coaching or developing or encouraging, or being empathetic, whatever it is, right? Because I'm a developer, the more I do it, then the more I start to create it. But I think it's kind of symbiotic, the two, right? Creating and discovering.
Yeah, when you're good at something, you tend to get better at it, and it's snowballs. Yeah. Ellie, what about yourself?
For me, it's also exploratory because back there I have no absolute idea about StrengthsFinder until I met Alex. Yeah. So it joins back to the career path I have took. So from process technologies, because it's really like you do in the 12-hour shift kind of thing, and but you don't find any purpose because you fresh grad so you just want to try out what's in for you and what's ahead. Because engineering is very wide, you see, so it can be like in any part of it, in fact. So downturn was that exploratory took about a year, in fact. And after I realized that actually I enjoy solving problems, it kind of makes me happy in some way that, oh yay, they're not being solved. So I was then, it's like, okay, maybe I should take out supply chain because it's a lot of processes, continuous improvement and stuff like that. So this is where I landed myself in for, yeah.
Great. Okay. I'll just resonate off you guys, right? Like, okay, so was I passionate about medicine? Yes. Was I passionate about psychology? Yes. Am I passionate about music? Yes. Am I passionate about cybersecurity? Yes. The list keeps on going for me because I found the area in which I'm most passionate about each of them. And I find this very interesting, right? So this is where it's very interesting because you found out that you really love problem solving. You like the systems way of thinking, sorting out the processes and everything, right? And you happen to like to do it on a supply chain level now. Maybe in the future, if you go into coaching, you like to do it on a person. Maybe in the future, you like to do this on something else.
I just want to add on something. I just started teaching basic bartending also.
Oh, cool.
So I'm kind of like teaching a class on
teach me.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is. So
it was also by chance.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was already certified back in my previous, but then the chance just came by. So,
wow.
Okay. Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, I knew Ellie when she was really, really young and she was a bartender.
Yeah.
What were you doing at the bar? No, sorry.
Yeah,
So the Alex was judging. He was under WDA last time. So that's how I got to know Alex.
so I was
Oh.
working with ABSS Association of Bartenders
Sommelier Singapore.
in Singapore. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we were doing that, right? And got to meet all the very interesting bartenders, and Ellie was one of them. And I think then you were with Emerald Hill Group, if I recall correctly.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. I've known her since she was really, really young.
I love this. I love
21,
this.
21, I think. About
Wow.
21. Yeah.
I love this. And I'm just going to explore a bit more from that space, right? Most of us, when they talk about they don't find a passion in something, they're usually talking about why they say that they are not passionate about that thing. So they might be doing a job, right? Like they might be doing this work and they say, I'm not passionate about this. I'm not passionate about this. If you notice, right, Ellie, like you found passion along the way. True? Doing something.
Yeah.
Alex, you found passion doing something, right? As in, it's like you try, and then, ooh, this is actually quite fun. Go a bit further. Most people, when I talk to them about passion, so this does not apply to everybody. Again, when I talk about this does not apply to everybody. This is talking about patterns. There are examples of people who find and create passion. I think Alex and Ellie, you just described exactly what finding and creating passion means to me.
Yeah, by the way, passion is not necessarily singular. Yeah, because a lot of people think I have one passion.
I have about
But-
13 right now.
Yeah, like Ethan has multiple, right? So I think for those of us who are exploring the passion path, do remember it's plural. I mean, it's multiple,
Passions.
right? It's not singular.
But the thing about this is that most people think of passion as the thing that does not make me feel like I'm frustrated in dealing with it.
Yep.
Okay, let me ask you this question. How often are you frustrated with supply chain issues, Ellie?
Yes, all the time. Especially when your the start of the processes, people doesn't really know what they are doing. So you have to clear the trash for them at the end and help them resolve their customers' complaint issue, whatever, so on and so on. The list goes on.
Yes, I can only imagine what's it like to be in supply chain. Oh my God.
So first thing first, you really must have patience. The passion of teaching from scratch, in fact. And you treat everybody as, a blank paper kind of thing.
I love this. I love how you're saying this because if you notice, right, it's anything, okay, you struggle, you have obstructions, you have frustrations. Most people who tell me they are not passionate about something are complaining about these three things. They say they don't like this job because I find it a struggle. I find it so painful for me to do this. You just described struggle to quite a high extent, dealing with these people. Like, because you still have to restart the whole process. You still have to be patient. You still have to be like this. Alex, how frustrating is it to coach people sometimes?
Very.
How often do you feel obstructions in the person's way?
Many times.
How often are you frustrated with not having progress?
Depends on the person, right?
Depends on the person, right? But do you give up just because you are frustrated?
No.
Exactly. That is exactly it. Most of the time when people describe passion to me, they're anti-boredom. I don't feel bored doing it. Anti-struggle. I don't want to have to struggle to do it. So I don't want to have to drag myself out of the bed when I'm doing something. I dragged myself out of the bed this morning out of a struggle because I had meetings non-stop. I was up since 7 a.m. and having meetings non-stop since then. And the thing is, I'm still loving it. I'm struggling. I'm half dying at the same time, but I'm loving it. So when somebody complains, they don't want to wake up and feel like it's a dreadful day coming up or there is a tiring day coming up. That's nothing to do with passion. They're trying to describe passion as this thing that takes away all their pain. This magical bullet.
And I think, another thing just came to mind, right? Last time when we were talking about the difference between values and anti-values, we talked about the difference between anti-lying and honesty.
Yes.
Right? So the person who is anti-lying just hates people lying, but may not necessarily be honest.
Yes.
So maybe you can expand a little bit about that to like kind of separate, right? Because to us, it's like, it's how can a person who is anti-lying not be honest?
I have a
Oh.
question.
Yes.
Sorry. So how do you treat people that is always being politically correct? Are they considered anti-liars, or they are just being a half-truth person?
Okay, that's beautiful. They're anti. Okay, so how many of you? Okay, so there's this word called harmony that families love, right? Let's all be harmonious here. They are very often anti-conflict. Just to notice that, a master of harmony is a person who is a master of conflicts. Why? Because I can turn disharmony into harmony by managing conflicts well. A master of this value should be able to take any form of whatever things it is, conflicts, unhappiness, disagreements, and turn it into harmony. Same with honesty. A person who is always saying the politically correct thing. Okay, I like to use this because a lot of people who say they value honesty are the biggest liars I know. So I find it very funny because the ones who always say, like, as in they say all the time, not saying that they value honesty as in like, a person who typically values honesty but doesn't talk about it all the time wouldn't usually have this issue. But it's the person who always goes, I value honesty, I value honesty. They're always looking for lies, but yeah.
So that comes another question. So is a person that is being authentic are honest people? Or they're just being, it's just a value they might,
It's a
might
question
not
mark,
be
right?
the
It's very
same.
confusing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why I like to define by anti-values first before I talk about values. Why? Because anti-values tells me the boundaries in which the person cannot take it. Here are the things that the person cannot take. It's a lot easier to manage with the person knowing what they cannot take than what the person claims they could value. Because the person says, I value honesty, you tell them honestly on an honest thing. And then you know what's the favorite part? The anti-hurt. So you tell them the truth, then what happens?
Disagree. They will disagree.
So the interesting part about this is that they relate honesty to being nice, being tactful, being whatever, which actually has nothing to do with it. The word honesty is just a word they use to cover up the rest of the things they're trying to avoid. That's why I created anti-values as a concept. Because while people say they value something, once you use it in real life, suddenly they don't value those things. But their behaviors show a very different set of things. What they are spotting, what they're looking for. So for example, as a person who values honesty myself, I do value honesty, and I can say this very openly, is that I'm okay if you try to cheat me. I'm okay if you lie to me. And I'm okay if you use euphemisms on me. And I'm okay if you try to hurt me by using aggressive, unhappy words that you are crouching, calling it honesty, but you're just being brutal, right? There are a lot of things that I'm okay with because I'll be cool. Why do you just lie to me? If you're trying to cheat me, I will be like, okay, cool. What are you trying to get out of me? Right? If you use euphemisms, I'll be, okay, why do you feel like you have to cover the words in such a euphemistic way that I don't understand what you're really meaning? What do you really mean? Honesty is about the creation of honesty to me, right? Values. Values is about what we create, not what we expect. If we expect something of life, it creates a list of anti-values. So if I expect all my friends to be honest with me, I am having a list of no in my head. Not what I create with my friends. I focus on, when I talk about values, the irony here is a lot of people say they value something, but they don't create it. They expect it from outside. They expect it to drop onto their lap and everybody around them to be intelligent, passionate, and honest, for example. But they are not actively creating environments where people speak intelligently, can find their passions, or speak honestly and be honest to themselves. This is why this concept is a huge whoa for me, because it allows me to define whether is it somebody that you're rubbed off by this thing, or are you creating the other side? Because this completely goes in a very different format from, Okay, so this is an observation-based process where I noticed and tried to observe how each person who says they value one thing behave in their scenarios, right? When they're actually interacting with other people, they might say they value intelligence. But when you put them, okay, I still remember, okay, I was on one of the apps, and this person said that she really enjoys talking to intelligent guys. So I was like, okay, do you talk about philosophy? Right? Because if you say you like intelligent people. Eventually, I started realizing that she's only interested in people who talk about pure business technical jargons. So if you're not from business or in consultancy or in that field and speak to her in this language, she feels that you're not intelligent. And I was like, cool, that's your anti-value then. Is it anti-anything, like anti-non-business? That's her choice. And that's a very interesting phenomenon I noticed. What people say they value might not be what they value for sure. What is easier to identify is this thing called anti-values. What is more specific is the anti-values. Are you looking for lies? Are you looking for loneliness? Are you looking for whatever? Are you looking for these moments to tell you that this I don't want? Or are you trying to create the other side?
And it's also we come back to the question of focus, right? Which is where your attention is. So the difference, if you go to lying and honesty again, in a conversation with someone, for example, if you are primarily driven by a value of honesty, then you are more often than not trying to create and look for honesty. If you are anti-lying, then you spend most of your time and attention trying to catch the person lying to you. Right?
And most of the people who I know who are anti-lies are going, why you lie to me? Why is that like? It's not true, eh? That's the first reactions they get. A person who I realized was very much into honesty would be like, oh, cool. What do you really think about this? How would you like to explore this a bit more? Could you go a bit deeper?
And the other thing I thought was interesting is we have spoken of values and anti-values as if they were oil and water, right? So they are mutually exclusive. I somehow suspect that we can have both the value and the anti-values operating at the same time, because it's almost like a spectrum, right? It's not like you're either values or anti-values person.
They're mutually exclusive, but they can coexist. I would even say that they can coexist. So that means you can be anti-lies or whatever, but you can also create honesty, right? I will be honest to you that I was very anti-values. That means anytime I see an anti-value in a person, I will feel very irritated by it. But I was also at the same time trying to clarify and try to help people through the process. Yeah, Ellie, sorry.
I think I have an example towards your analogy.
Yes.
Okay, iPhone 13 just came out, right? I'm not sure if you guys watch any. If you see China, they are being whole world, they know they are very patriotic towards everything in their own country, be it their brands, etc. So there was always this sentiment saying that, oh, hey, we support our homegrown brands like Oppo, Huawei, whatsoever. But when this phone came out, look at the mad rush. So I think it's a very good example of, you were saying, the coexistence between values and anti-values within a country people itself.
I think it's beautiful. Like, that's a perfect example, right? Like, say, what people say and what people do.
It's different. It's completely different. Look at there's quite a number of videos and reports. I think SCMP has one of the most prominent one. You can go and check it out. It's
okay.
Yeah.
South China Morning Post, is it? Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Like, this explains the difference between what people say and what people do. If you notice.
Part of it, I think, is that values, they are quite vague, right? I mean, when you talk about honesty, no one will say, very few people will say, I don't value honesty.
Yes.
But what most people mean, right, is, yes, I value honesty, but I don't really expect you to be honest about your salary and your financial details with me, right? But then, of course, no one is so leceh, it's just honesty. So that's why when you have the anti-values, those are more specific. So those can give a bit of accuracy, right? But I was also thinking one thing, which is that actually anti-values are a good way to know our values, right? So for example, like loyalty, right, is quite low on my list of values, right? So if someone is disloyal to me, right, let's say they break their promise, I will probably be okay. I'll be like, oh, maybe the circumstances change, so they have a perfectly good reason why they they betrayed me, right? I won't feel like it's a betrayal.
Mm.
But if loyalty was high on my list of values, then I might feel very offended by this betrayal, which happens like when someone deliberately lies to attack me, right? I feel that very strongly, and that kind of shows that honesty or integrity is actually really one of my values. It's not just I say, yeah.
Perfect. Actually, that's a very good way of looking at it, because we can always, okay, so this is where it's very interesting, right? So what we say as a hard no. So there are two ways of looking at boundaries. Anti-values are another form of boundaries, but they're unconscious boundaries that we set without knowing it necessarily. So you are talking perfectly there, right? Like a person who is very into betrayal, right? But again, the betrayal can be failure. Somebody can betray you because they failed to achieve something for you. They failed to clean your lawn, clean your toilet. I mean, they failed to clean your toilet just enough, where we like, there are people who look for betrayal all the time, right? Like, oh, you betray me because you failed me in this aspect, right? So they are looking for that. This is very interesting because, again, right, like if we only talk about the positive things and we only talk about the very nice vague terms, it actually does not help us define what are our boundaries. Our boundaries are here. A person who values intelligence in their head is just anti-bad language, meaning if the person comes with bad grammar, I cannot take it, right? You're not actually valuing intelligence, you're just anti-bad grammar, right? If you say you for intelligence and you think that because the person made a few stupid mistakes, therefore you think the person's not intelligent, then you're not actually for intelligence in a lot of sense, you're anti-stupid. It creates the clear boundaries as to what your thought processes are like. Not because it is bad or it is good. It is just what it is. I can be, so what on myself, I strive to let go of my anti-values for a very simple reason. Because my anti-values create anxiety, frustration, hurt, and negative emotions in me that I hold on to. So there are ways of saying, like, for example, that if I'm trying to create a value, if I'm being bogged down by the anxiety of bad grades or anxiety of struggling, oh my God, here I have to struggle again. If I'm caught by those, I might not move towards my passion more. Does that make sense? If I'm already emotionally bogged down by my struggles, by my obstructions, if I feel terrible about this person, I'm less likely to create what I'm trying to value. So my striving is very much about removing my interferences and being okay with it. For example, when I meet an obstruction, why am I suffering? Why am I feeling anxiety? How am I feeling anxiety? So this is a very good template for me to write out for me, that I basically wrote out a lot of these templates before in the past. When I say I value something, what actually triggers me when I'm in the path of doing this thing? So for example, if I say I value intelligence and I'm very put off by a person who has very bad grammar, then I know I'm actually not for intelligence. I'm absolutely against people with bad grammar. And that's a real thing, that people are genuinely in that space, right? They are very against something else. Recognizing that, and so if I'm trying to hire the most intelligent people in the team, there are a number of cybersecurity people that I know who have pretty bad grammar. They're some of the best in the industry, but they have pretty grammar. So am I going to miss out on these people? Absolutely. My anti-values stop me from meeting these people and recognizing and appreciating these people. That's why it's a bad thing. Not because it within itself is bad, it's just that it doesn't serve my purpose. It doesn't serve what I'm trying to do. And this is a very important way of looking at it. Because I mean, like my business partner, when he presents, right, he still uses, you all met him, he's Ken. He uses nows a day, not nowadays, nows a day, right? If you're particularly triggered by this, you'll not be able to stand him. You'll think that he's the dumbest guy in the world, right? But no, it's you have to accept him as he is. You just have to accept it. Yeah, while he's really good at what he does say certain things. And that's okay. Being okay with that is really important for me, because if I value something, avoiding what gets in my way does not help me solve it, get to the next point, and build more of it. And that's really what the focus for me is. When I talk about anti-values, it's a lot about, I identify my anti-values all the time. So if I'm feeling particularly frustrated, so I'm very anti-stupidity. I'll be honest with all of you guys, this is my biggest pain point, right? Every time I deal with people who are ignorant and try to act like they're smart, right? I will bloody blood boil like nobody's business. I will be like, what the? Okay, all things come out, right? That triggers me, but it stops me from meeting some potential investors because I had to deal with some of them. It hurts me in terms of dealing with some of the businesses because, again, some of the business owners like this, and it hurts me. It doesn't hurt them. Type what we AK-47, nice one. Okay, great. So if you notice, right, like it annoys me, right? Like I was having a conversation with somebody that made my blood boil because of their ignorance about certain terms that are used in cybersecurity and UX. They completely mangled these terms and acted as if they know everything and told me I'm wrong. That was like major trigger point, right? But of course, nowadays I'm more and more okay with it. But there are more things I need to do better, to be more, more present in a moment, more dealing with the issues at the present and actually understand them and really solve the problem so that I can get into a good business relationship with them rather than going in my head, right? Because AK-47 plus a lot of figures in my fingers. So that's exactly what I focus on when I look at anti-values. It is that I recognize that it is natural for me to have anti-values because that's how I think. That's how a lot of structured thinking begins with. I need to start with a set of boundaries to know what it is not before I can discover what something is. So in the process of discovering my values, I need to discover what my values are not. And it's part of the journey. But letting go of it and not being triggered by it is the key for me. And that's really what it is. You can get bad grades. And bad grades might show that you're not that intelligent. Might. Again, right? But that depends on whether you work hard on it, whether you actually had the space to do it, whether you had the opportunities that other people had, whether you had the right teachers, whether you had a really bad course, whether the test was actually testing what you were looking for. I mean, there's so many different factors that has nothing to do with intelligence when it comes to bad grades. But recognizing that and going, oh, okay, that's why I feel this way about people, because I assume that a person with bad grades is not intelligent. That's his assumption. Then I learn to do better. And that's why it's very important to me that we talk about anti-values, because we might talk about values a lot, right? I value this, I value that. But until we recognize and admit to our anti-values, we don't know where our boundaries really truly lie. Again, we go back to the word honesty, right? Again, my favorite thing is most of the people that who scream, I love honesty, I need honest people in my life, are the least honest, right? Because they are very against lying and cheating and all these kind of different things, but they're constantly seeking it. And that is a very common trend because their eyes are looking out for whether you're lying to them, not whether they can have a conversation of honesty with you. Their eyes are looking at whether you're trying to cheat them of money or cheat them of their feelings, rather than looking for an honest feeling with you. This is exactly what happens. And so today's exercise, I really want to kind of get everybody to write down one value you have and write down what possible anti-values it might come with. This just requires you guys to be honest with yourself as to what triggers you. And this will be a very fun exercise within itself because it'll give you a little bit of light into what your tendencies are, what your actual behaviors are. For example, if I naturally scold somebody who I find stupid, then clearly I'm triggered, right? So I'm anti-stupidity, right? So there are these kind of things. We need to write this down honestly to ourselves so that we can move towards a place where we're creating value rather than avoiding anti-values. So if I can have everybody get involved with this exercise and take from the Miro board, take a notepad. Do you all know how to use the Miro board, everybody? Don't know.
So we have created multiple frames with your names on that. So what you can do is go to the frame with your name. We have two columns there, one for values and one for anti-values. Now, if you want to create a post-it, all you have to do is double click on that space and it should create a post-it for you. If it doesn't, then what you can do is press N, and then so you automatically select node and then you can create it, or you can use the toolbar on the left, select a node and put it there.
So I think Zoom telling me I need to restart Zoom to open this app. So I will restart now first.
Okay, sure. See you in a bit. Thank you, Colin.
Forcing everybody to
Yeah,
update
Mel,
their
I know
screen.
you're on your phone right now. So do you have a laptop or a tablet that you can use this on? No, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Oh, I tried to log in via my tab just now, but I don't remember my password.
Okay, I tell you what, I will send you via here another link that allows you to just enter without any problems. Hold on. Well, I'm not the creator of this, so you need to be the one, Alex.
You can just send the same link that I sent you the last time.
Oh yeah. Okay, let me send everybody the link. Hold on.
I'm using my phone too, sorry.
No worries.
No worries.
But I can do some arrow.
Yeah. Or if you can share with us how this works for you, I can help you write it down.
How about I type it out?
Okay, great. That works. You can type it into the group, the chat here, then I can help you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this exercise again, right? There's nothing bad about having empty values. It's just normal part of life. To me, it's a normal part of my life.
Can we set time? How long? 2 minutes?
Yeah.
3 minutes?
Let's do a 3 minutes. 3 minute. Just write down basically what you think,
Okay.
and we'll go through quickly.
Okay, 3 minutes. Let's go.
Individually. Yeah, I'll start with Alex anyway, so you guys have a bit more time.
Stress.
Ethan, can you send me the app?
Yep. Let me just send you that link again. Okay, sent.
Okay.
Does it work for you?
It still says I need to sign in.
Okay, I'll tell you what. You use this link instead and open up on your Chrome or anywhere else.
Okay.
This Zoom thing is not exactly there yet. It's a new feature of Zoom, so
Sure.
Fine. It's just very resource intensive.
oh really?
Laptop is dying.
Your Miro is resource intensive. Oh correct. Okay. I didn't know
Oh,
that.
when it's on the web browser, it's fine. But
Ah.
when it's integrated into Zoom, I cannot even
Right.
put full screen. Once I put full screen, the whole thing lags. Now I'm
Wow.
just using like 1/4 screen.
So it's super inefficient.
For me, at least my laptop is not built.
Yeah,
Don't
no
be
worries.
hesitate.
I know how you feel. I just recently had to upgrade because for cybersecurity we need to run like virtual machines. My MacBook was like dying because it was like ran out of RAM.
Oh, so you use VMware with Fusion?
VMware player workstation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with MacBook I was using Fusion.
Did you
Yeah,
upgrade
expensive,
your
man.
RAM?
Yeah,
And
so
then
no,
did you
no,
upgrade your
MacBook very
RAM?
hard to. The 2015 version couldn't upgrade RAM to 32 gigs. So I was like
Oh, but your SSD, how big is it?
500 plus gigabytes, but it's still not enough because it was the 2015 MacBook Pro.
Oh, okay. I'm actually thinking mine is a 2017 MacBook. I was thinking whether to upgrade. I don't know, maybe a higher terabyte, 1
Oh, yeah.
terabyte or something. I'm not too sure if I should
Probably
do that.
another M.2 SSD lah, but yeah.
To one TB, is it too
1
late
TB. No, one TB is great. Yeah.
for MacBook Air?
Yeah, it'll be
Okay.
MacBook Air.
Yeah.
But the problem with MacBook Air is the thermals, not so much the okay. But if you want to try to upgrade the size, yeah, I would recommend you to bring out 1 TB.
Yeah, I was thinking to do that.
But I will double check whether is it possible because not all motherboards can handle.
I was reading some of the forums. Only specific type can be used, OWC or something. Very specific only.
Oh no.
I
That's
think
so
that's
cost-effective.
yeah, I don't
If you
know.
bring it
But I
to
don't-
Apple repair person, you'll be good.
Expensive, I cannot.
Okay, 3 minutes up, everyone.
Yep. So let me go straight to Alex. The rest of you continue meanwhile. Alex, okay, great. Anti-ignorance and anti-stagnation. So let's talk about growth and what it means to you, and then how anti-ignorance and anti-stagnation comes in.
So growth is like is part of my learner developer, right? That I believe that people should learn, grow, develop, and not stay where they are. So when I see people who are like unwilling to learn, so I don't know what that is, anti not learning, whatever it is, it frustrates me. When when feedback is given and then they okay, and then they kind of ignore you and they don't do and learn, then that's quite frustrating as well. So I think that's how I see growth and what I think the NT values for growth is. It's like personal growth, personal learning, development kind of thing.
Very cool. So you're anti-learning. So if the person doesn't like to learn, you're like, yeah, the look at your face is priceless.
Yeah, then you could just say that I'm for learning, right? Because negative.
No. Because a double negative is a very different presentation from positive. A person who's for learning will focus on
learning,
helping the person learn, and being okay with the person who doesn't want to learn.
I'm sometimes okay with it and sometimes not okay.
Sometimes I'm okay.
Hey, I mean, honestly.
Get the pain. So there's an anti-value. It's okay. It's okay. We all have it. We all have anti-values. It's a good way of looking at it because it allows us to work on something that helps us improve, right? Like, so the more I can accept somebody who rubs me off the wrong way, the more I actually notice I'm growing.
Okay.
It's amazing.
So the next one will be interesting, right? When we talk
appreciation.
About
yeah.
And anti-credit stealing.
Yes.
Yeah, so in work context, right? When I think it's something I do value is that when work is being done, there's appreciation for the work done. And I hate it when people like steal the work that you're doing and present it as if it's their own. So I'm very anti-credit stealing. I think when there's a lot of work done and it's not acknowledged, like certain things done, say, oh, all they have looked for are things that are missing or haven't acknowledged, then so anti non-acknowledgement. Makes sense. So that's for me for precision. Then authenticity, it's kind of like if people don't do what they say they are doing or they're not consistent, like sometimes they do this, sometimes they don't do that, then to me it's like this person not very authentic. That's kind of how I assess authenticity. Right? Okay. So the person is very inconsistent in that. Incongruence is, yeah. So that's my 3.
I like it. Okay, so as much as we think that it is a good thing for us to be anti something, it is actually interesting me for the good of the value when we're okay with the thing that we're against. When I say this is, if I deal with an ignorant person and I'm okay with that ignorance, I can educate them more than a person if I can't deal with an ignorant person.
Yeah, because I get triggered and frustrated, right? So it puts me in a negative state.
Yeah. Or like anti-credit stealing means that you get irritated by the person rather than trying to manage the situation in a better way to get the appreciation you deserve, or the people get the appreciation they deserve. So when a person is triggered, typically, even if they're trying to create a value, they're not as effective as if they're completely calm doing it. Does this make sense?
Yeah. So one of the things as we were talking, I realized that if we are able to let go of what we can't stand, i.e. The anti-values, it frees us to perform better and focus on what we really want to create.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. Thank you, Alex. And that's exactly what the focus is here.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. I'm done.
Thank you. Okay, let me go to Ellie next.
Hello.
Hello, let's go to you.
Okay. I'll start with the value first. So I have put up my top 4, which I value the most, although we can't do much now. Yeah. So firstly is adventure. Now can't do lah. So this is all I value. freedom, of course. Free to do whatever shit you want, and
Yes.
you know, you don't need to seek any permission. You just go ahead. Humor is actually very, very important to me because no jokes makes everybody a dull person. And
Can I ask you this question? Are you anti-bottom?
yes and no. If I have something to do, then I won't be bored. If I have nothing to do, then I am very bored. Then I'll go and I'll start texting my friend, telling them lame jokes and stuff like that.
Great.
So she's anti-bottom lah.
She is anti-bottom. So great. Okay.
Yes and no lah. I mean, so the next will be equality. So when I start to understudy to manage people, so I realized that this is very, very important because I don't want to feel resentment from people that they were not being given chance or they were not being treated equally based on their ability and stuff like that. So it's rather important to balance, give both of them equally the chance, I would say. So anti-values will be anti-humility. Some people, I mean, they have a lot of achievement, the success, but they don't know how to, you know, stay under, you know, like keep it under wraps, and they just start to, you know, go around and sing their own praises. So this is what I can't.
You're anti-bragging. So yeah. Cannot stand people who brag. Great.
Yeah, so I mean, they need to have some humility, I will say, in my opinion. Exclusivity is something where I think you made a statement earlier that like the intelligence portion, some similar of such elitism lah, in other words. So they exclude all the other purples and whatever, you know, not within their ranks lah. Yeah, that's what I can't really talk to people like that also. Very hard.
Can you explain a bit more about that? Like they are very exclusive to.
Okay. If you work in a establishment, F&B, you understand where I'm coming from lah. They give that kind of, you know, the eyes is like on top here, that kind of, you know. I don't need to say much lah. Yeah.
I hear you.
Vengeful. So little things, if like conversation doesn't sit well or discussion doesn't sit well, then they start to, you know, want to take revenge on you in next time. I mean, I have colleagues like that lah, in fact. Yeah, so actually that's
great. No, so like so knowing what triggers you is very important, right? Because these are the boundaries in which you work from. So actually from your event, okay, so the good part is if you notice, right, why top 5 in my opinion in strengths, strength finder and everything is very helpful. It's because each of them actually help define one another in terms of what turns out on the anti-value side. If you look at because some of the things that you value and the whole arrangement of this actually kind of gives hints towards what you cannot stand. So you are definitely anti-braggart, anti-elitist lah. Let's just put this anti-elitist. It's like the version of what is. Yeah, so therefore the equality related to that. And then anti-vengeful, yes, you don't like people who are, you know, vengeful. And anti-bottom for sure.
I think so too.
Yeah. So that's great. Like, so these are the things that, so you start recognizing like these are the boundaries that you live by, meaning you don't want those things. The interesting part is when we become okay with those things, we have more of the other side.
Yeah, so I have my adventure, the freedom, the humor, and the equality. Yeah.
Yes. So like for every single ounce of energy we spend on the negative side, we're taking it away from creating it on the other side. So that's why it's very helpful when we start moving. I'm pretty sure you know this pretty well because you sound like you're a person who's working on it regularly to improve yourself. So it is like the more we define this, the easier it is for us to identify as and when it actually hurts us. When is it okay for us to not deal with it? Right? For example, if I'm anti-elitist for a while, I'm perfectly fine because I don't have to deal with people like this. Right? So, but knowing which one is being triggered helps me define what do I work on next. Does this make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, and this is great. This is a great exercise. Thank you for participating in this, Ellie. It's very helpful. Okay, let's go to Faith. What is friendship? What okay?
I mean, as in, I value friendship, but the anti-value that I can see of is there are some people that come to you, they only find you when they need favors from you. So in a sense, that's what I mean by anti-favors. Or what do you call that? People who come to find you because they need you for something, to do something for them, that's it.
Fair
But they say
weather
you're a
friends.
friend, so you should help. Yeah, something like that.
And
Yeah. So you're against anti-users. Anti-users, yes, they're users. They're not.
Right.
They're extractors of value. They don't care to give. They're just taking. Okay, there's another term for it. Or takers, right?
anti-takers. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Anti-ghosting, as in, there are some
Disappearing.
people that for a fact that they are online, they read your message. Nowadays, WhatsApp, Telegram, all can see the double tick and whatnot. Yeah, then they don't reply you until the next day or something, even though you see them active on social media, for example.
Yeah, but they're still ignoring you, anti-ghosting.
Yeah, correct. So in a sense, just use the ghosting term for ease sake. Then initiation, passive, you're right.
They don't ask you out. They always wait for you to ask them out.
Correct. yeah. Then you will see that these kind of people usually fall into the users taker kind also.
Yes. So let me bring into this, right? So friendship for you is a person. So by this, right? Okay, let me add on to this because this is a very fun part of the exercise where I can add on to this. Let me just add on this little bit of a tidbit of an idea. So looking at how she defines it, friendship equals a person who genuinely loves being in your company, judging by her anti-values. Does this make sense for you guys? Like, actually, anti-values help me define the other side very well. Because anti-ghosting meaning, if you are busy, let me know lah. But if you're on social media, it means that you don't really value me. You don't really enjoy being with me, right? You don't really enjoy communicating with me. And that's where it matters for you, right, Faith? Great.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about harmony.
I just put it very briefly. It's more of like people who, because they claim that they want harmony, so they don't give inputs. They say everything, anything. But at the end of the day, they follow and then they feel upset inside. Not raising not giving your input does not equate harmony to me.
Yes. So I call it passive resentment. You're not doing anything, but you're resenting the other person for.
Yeah. And you said that it's for the sake of harmony, but it's just not harmony in the sense.
But you value harmony as it is, right? Like it's like you value harmony as a result of conversations that would matter.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. Listener?
It's more like, some people say that, oh yeah, I listen to you, but then they keep on interrupting. And you speak your piece, then they speak even more and nothing related to what you say. That kind of thing. It's like one-sided. And also, to me, listening means is being able to see your body language and everything. So it's like, but it's like, yeah, you can just message me, but you don't want to meet up when something really happened. That kind of thing, something like that.
Anti-non-confrontation.
It's like taking the easy way out. Okay, you just message me, I'll hear you out. That kind of thing. But yeah.
Yeah, it's the anti. It's the where what they say and what they do are completely different. It's like the
brain and the body don't match.
Yeah. It's like the
yeah.
Just say whatever you want. Just say whatever you want.
Yeah. There's some people just like that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think everything at the end of the day, I still go back to a friendship kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now that I see, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. No, so now that clarity helps a lot, right? So then you will want to create friendships or value friendships that are focusing on that. So we can spend more time on creating that than avoiding people who are like that. Like it can be by defining it by people who genuinely love being around you. So I don't have to deal with a taker. Just say, okay, I don't need to be triggered by you. You're out of my life. Right? Anti-ghosting, like rather than being irritated by somebody ghosting me, I'm not going to check the social media. I'm just not going to be your friends anymore. Can be through those means, right? There are a lot of ways you can manage your anti-values in a manner that supports your creation rather than takes away from your process. Let's go to
Thank you.
Colin. Thank you, Faith.
Hi, yeah, so this is what I think my values are. I'm not sure. Okay, so the first is balance. So I don't like it when I myself I'm lopsided, or when I meet people who I find lopsided lah. So classic examples would be, yeah, extremism, exactly. Yeah, and then there's various forms like there's the material form, there's
It's
the
like the must meditate all the time.
yeah.
I also cannot. I'll be like, okay, your world, bye.
Yeah, you need to walk on the earth also lah. Then okay, the second one is also harmony. Yeah, so but for me, I think I'm quite conflict averse, so don't like conflict, be anti-conflict, anti-criticism.
Can I be more specific about this? Are you okay with kind, tactful criticism?
Yeah, I'm okay with kind, tactful criticism. In fact, I can take criticism to a certain extent lah. But it does pull me down lah. Yeah. But I know that kind, tactful criticism is useful for my growth, which is my third value. Yeah. So yeah. And then the last one I put is ungratefulness also.
Yes.
Yeah. So for growth, yeah, is I think quite similar to Alex one. Yeah, so anti-stagnation. But mine I think is more inward focused. Like I don't really, well, I guess yeah, I guess I do resonate with other people who are also growth oriented. Yeah. But this is more for me lah. If I feel I'm stagnating, or if I feel I'm going in the wrong direction, yeah, this
Very cool.
puts me down.
Yeah, so this would be all mostly internal world. So growth is specifically for my personal growth, right? Like it's more about yours. Not so much about other people.
Yep.
What
Great.
is negative growth?
Negative growth is when you I was thinking of financial growth when I wrote that, but I
Which
guess
is loss,
I guess maybe like sometimes that you read you gain a lot of knowledge, but you don't actually translate it into like deep so you forget it, right? So you might have read a book and then you don't do anything with it. So like 3 years later you forgot it, but you know that you know it, but you forgot what exactly you know.
I will use the word non-impact lah. So make no impact on your thoughts, on your behaviors, or nothing practical have came out of it.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Wait. Or useless. Okay.
Or
like
is
the
it
knowledge was useless. Not used by you.
non-application?
It's yeah, I guess this is an aspect lah. But actually mean like you forget, no? Sometimes you forget things, but you know that you actually read it like 3 years ago, but you forgot the details.
Okay, anti-losing knowledge.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I will go down the path of like losing the knowledge. Like he had it and then he lost it.
Okay, I can imagine Colin sometimes when we talk, right? He goes like, I know I read that like last time somewhere. Let me think. Then he gets very frustrated trying to remember what he couldn't remember. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Interesting. I'm actually perfectly fine with it, which is why I'm like, oh, this is very interesting. I've never had that issue with myself. So I'm perfectly fine with being stupid. I said like, when I described that version of it as stupid, like I forgot my medical knowledge, like I studied 5 years of medical school. How can I forget? Like that kind of reaction, like I'm actually perfectly fine now. I used to be like, but at the same time, it's interesting because your reaction is clearly a bit bigger than mine. So I'm like, this is very interesting. Like I've never placed so much importance on my own knowledge to that level. So this is very interesting new one I've seen.
Part of it is also related to forgetting, right? Is it like anti-forgetting? Like I
Yeah,
can
but-
imagine
Is he unhappy or forgetting people?
forgetting knowledge.
Yeah, so it's losing knowledge. I use the word losing because the feeling is the losing.
Yeah.
Does
So
that- does that make sense?
I can remember when I speak to Colin, then sometimes when he's trying to think of things, then he'll laugh and he'll bang the table at the same time trying to remember what he wanted to say. It's a very Colin thing. It's quite funny. Right?
Missing knowledge,
Right,
missing
Colin, you do
knowledge.
that, right?
Exactly.
Great. Like, I mean, so again, right? Like the moment we are okay with these things, we can usually move on from them. So this is something that you might want to consider working on as like a why does this bug you so much as a potential thing to explore, because it might help you remember faster. So I realized that the more I go, I cannot remember, I really cannot remember. But once I actually get past it, suddenly it hits my mind. So it's a very interesting thing. How our mind works is that the more I hold on to the fact that I couldn't remember, the worse it gets for me. I'm not sure about you, but this is what happened to me. So, so the moment I was okay with it, suddenly everything comes back. Like I was like, oh, I forgot everything. So I just Google. Even as I type the thing, suddenly everything comes back. So it comes back in a certain manner. So it's a very interesting phenomenon for me. Once I'm okay with letting go of the forgetting knowledge, it helps me. But that's, again, just another way of looking at the same set of anti-values.
I'm actually okay with forgetting knowledge as well. I just go, I have this stash of books and whatnot, right? And I just go, okay, I know it's somewhere here. Let's go find and read it up. I'll be very happy when I rediscovered some of the things and realized that after that rediscovery, I've discovered new things. So it's very interesting.
Oh, bye, Ellie. Thank you for coming. Sorry that it's dragging out a bit.
Bye, Ellie.
Great. Okay, let's. All right. So let's go over to yes, Faith.
Yura type in the chat.
You're type in the chat. Yeah, it's her answers are in the chat. But Mel didn't
Oh yeah.
type in the chat. So somebody help Yura put in, is it?
Yep.
Mel, yeah.
Huh?
Mel, do you have difficulty or?
Hey, I'm typing what you can't see. Or
Nothing.
did I type out in the wrong chat? I typed it. God,
Yeah.
I used my iPad, my Samsung Tab.
I'm confused. I don't see it.
Oh yeah, Mel, I don't see.
There, this one.
This
Oh.
okay, cool.
Sorry.
You went to the
I typed
template
it on
site.
the
It's all good, all
template.
good, all good.
Okay, cool.
First time using it.
All good. Understand. Wow, this is very it's very colorful. So I was
I
like,
I
whoa.
just put the value side by side lah. So for example, I like I don't know how do you say something like flat structure as a value. Like I don't like hierarchy.
Yeah.
Hierarchy.
Yeah.
So definitely
in a-
anti-hierarchy, but
In an organization, or so I value maybe freedom at work, or like I prefer a flat structure at work. Then growth mindset as opposed to a stagnant one.
Yep.
I value freedom, so I dislike those who are like very
anti-dogmatic.
like
Yes.
those who have to dot every I and cross every T. Yeah. And then I like authenticity in a person. I think authenticity is supposed to match with the fact that I dislike those who like need to be current, like just to keep up with the
Most
Joneses.
modern trend, yos.
yeah, correct. Like, yeah.
Okay.
And then
Hey, Mel,
I
quick
value
question. All your objects with different shapes, do they have meaning? Or
no, I put the two side by side. I mean the anti-values are side by
I
side.
mean some are triangles, some are
No significance in the
no
shape.
significance. Is it okay I change all of them to notes?
What's it?
Can, sorry.
To
First
be
time doing it,
Morris,
I don't really, I'm not familiar with how to do it.
All good.
no worries. I think it's easier to
Yeah,
So you're
then-
anti-elitism, definitely.
yeah, so I value like equal opportunity for all.
So I see a lot of equity related stuff, yet at the same time, equity and value for the personal right. There's quite a lot of that element, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, what does that translate as?
So the interesting part is, so you're very anti-establishment, and by
correct.
your your upbringing. The interesting part about people who are anti-establishment is that very often when they come back to if they have any form of power, they might hate themselves.
You mean if I'm being controlled?
If
Or
you
if
become in power. So the
Oh,
interesting
okay.
part is that when you become the establishment, you might hate yourself.
Okay. And ironically, like it's quite paradoxical because I'm in legal, even though
Yes.
I hate like, yeah, so I have to ensure that everyone is like within the boundaries of the law. But I don't like establishment. I'm anti-establishment.
So does your career trigger you a lot?
No colleagues in the group chat, right? In the chat, right?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, to a certain extent, because maybe deep down inside, like I always feel like I should be in an arts field, because like I always think in abstract kind of. Yeah, I'm not so like black and white, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
No worries. I have a
Yeah.
lot of lawyer friends, so I kind of understand. Like no, but there are a lot of so I know lawyer friends who are very in the gray area. They look at the law as a reference point and a guiding principle, but not as the law.
Okay. Yeah. So it's very weird. Like when I have to ensure that people comply to things. When I mean, I don't break the laws like deliberately. I mean, at work lah. But then, yeah, it's just like against. Can I say it's against my principles? I mean, it's against my core value.
Yes.
It's a bit contradictory lah. Yeah.
Yeah. But like compliance sometimes is just to be able to make sure that things work, right?
Yeah, but I'm just like not that kind of person who like
We shouldn't be in compliance field, basically.
illegal. Yeah, shouldn't.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks for
I mean-
sharing. This is very interesting. So I mean, then they tell you that your career might trigger you a lot, and maybe being okay with these things might help you a lot to eventually move on from the career. One of my favorite statements is never leave on a bad day.
Never leave on a bad day.
Yes. Don't quit, don't rage quit. Always quit when you're on a high.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I kind of moved it a little bit. Is it right? Am I missing some stuff?
It looks alright.
Like
She loves
novelty is a
novelty.
value, is it?
Yeah, it's a value.
So we missed out.
Novelty as opposed to because I don't like tradition. I mean, I'm anti-tradition. But then the conflict is like, for example, you like you value novelty, right? So a controversial issue would be like, for example, would you accept a divorce? Like, because you appreciate novelty, but then at the same time you are anti-tradition, establishment, so to speak, right? Yeah. So would you value divorce? Would you value like LGBT? I mean, because technically those are like traditional. I mean, those are anti-traditional.
Opposite of traditional values.
Yeah. So that's one. And then so if I value excitement and I don't feel the need for like security, but then on the other hand, like would I choose a profession which is anti-establishment? Everything boils down to that.
I feel like my favorite way of looking at this is we often choose the fields that are there for us to learn the most.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. So I know this for myself, as in I went into medicine, hated it after a while because I am a very open, free spirited person. And it's a very dogmatic field as well. And then I went into entrepreneurship only to realize, oh my God, that's a different ballgame altogether. I'm not even to that extent either. So it's like the neither nor. So it's like the And then I went to music field and I also realized, this is not really me. I cannot do this full time because like that one. So you start realizing that a lot of these things are very interesting. Every field we enter is for us to learn a lesson. I feel that.
True. Do you feel like when you entered music, because I did art for a bit, do you feel like it's too abstract? It's like there are no rules, there are no
I'm actually
boundaries.
okay with that. I don't like the
Really?
networking. I don't like the way they network, which is all like the way they network has nothing to do with the quality of the art or the music or the whatever. So there's another like it's down to whether and the thing is that elitism exists in music as well, which I cannot tahan in.
But elitism exists in every profession, what?
Yeah, but that's the thing I couldn't take. So I thought music at least hopefully, more open-minded, right? But then
Okay. then now like cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity is very interesting, right? So there is a space for me to create something different within the ecosystem. That's why I'm taking this opportunity.
How so though? I mean, under already like established rules, established laws
That's
for
the thing.
cybersecurity.
Not really yet.
Huh?
Not really yet. Cybersecurity came out as a proper industry only 2016.
Okay.
So there's a lot of
I mean,
space.
like, what is the room for growth there? I mean, I thought
Shaping
there's
the
like
culture of the people on the ground.
okay.
Because
In
right now
terms
there's
of
only
like,
about
in terms of
11,000
like
people. Huh?
incidents response and resolution and all those things, is it?
No.
Like
We're training
how-
people. We're creating the career mindsets. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to need to move on to Yura's one to finish this.
Okay.
Thank you for the thoughts. Yura. Okay, great. Kindness, anti-rudeness, anti-lack of EQ, I guess. That's what
Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
So like I think I really, really appreciate kindness. It resonates with me. It's I can smell it a mile away. I can sense it. And when people are rude, I can't stand it. I literally can start a fight. It's annoying, but it's quite scary sometimes.
So just to hold you there, right? When a person is rude, you can start a fight. What's really interesting is that the only way the fight can happen is if both people are rude to each other.
Yes, exactly. And I would tell, that's the thing. So there's my positivity can switch. I have positivity as number one. My positivity can switch and it just goes opposite. And it's like, no, you can't do that. And so that's why I think it's like resonate to what you've been trying to say, right? Are you fishing for rudeness or are you fishing for kindness? So yeah.
This is great. That's great. Like, thank you for like recognizing this as well. I think this is great. Like, because when we fight too hard for kindness, we might be unkind to the people who are not kind.
Yeah. So that's why. And then it's a self-reflection because I mean I'm on confinement now. And then with postnatal, with hormones and all that. I had my poor auntie confinement nanny. I don't scold her, but I have this like, why did she do that?
Frustration,
Yeah.
right?
But and then at the same time, I recognize that I cannot be rude, right?
Yes.
So I'm like, so it's like that demons is So
yeah, I understand. So, but being okay with rudeness is also meaning know how to move towards kindness. So if I was rude to you one moment, if I'm okay with the rudeness, I know how to repair that relationship.
Yes, that's true. Yes, I know how to repair. So I will like I don't mind going to apologize first. Even though it's not my fault. It's fine.
Yes. But I find it funny because you said the fact that you even have to say, even though it's not my fault, which I like it because like that says another thing about you, which is interesting. But yes, just to take note of the situation.
What does it say about me?
Anti-blame, anti-gonna blame,
Oh my God, Alex. Oh my God.
Great session, right? You're glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah.
And you can hear my baby.
Yes.
So and then the anti-lack of EQ, I think like sometimes people they just are not sensitive to this. It's annoying to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then honesty, right?
Yeah.
What is the anti-manipulation and anti-white lies?
Sorry.
All good.
Oh, it's okay, no worries.
Okay. It's just like sometimes people that they are just manipulating you to get their way.
and
Yes.
then I can tell. So it's also.
And then what about white lies? I mean, white lies are in the category of what's okay.
So that's the thing. That's the thing. There is. I understand. Sometimes we will say we will tell a few white lies. Sorry, he's grumpy. We will tell a few white lies to save the situation or not to make it worse.
Mhm.
But some people they just do it all the time.
It's not even white anymore. It becomes gray.
Yeah. So, and I can tell. So it's bad. So does it mean that I'm a liar?
No, so
Or I
here
teach-
comes the thing. You might use it when you have to, and you might not like yourself when you use
Oh God. Spot on.
it.
Oh my.
So it's not that you might necessarily be that person who does it all the time, but you're not gonna like yourself when you do it, even if you have to.
Yeah. Yes. Because in my job, sometimes you have to tell the team certain things, right?
Yes.
And I don't like it. Yes. You're right.
So that's the thing. So the more we can move away from it, the better we can find better ways of being honest without necessarily giving the gray lies.
But how sometimes certain things have to be.
Just tell them honestly, I cannot tell you.
Oh, but if it leads to bigger
If they
situation.
if they cannot accept it, then there's also the other part of this equation of the conversation. Because if you lie and they find out later on, it's going to hurt you, right?
That's true.
Yeah. Versus that I cannot tell you because this is bigger than me.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of ways of handling it, but and I understand because the thing is you're taught to do these gray lies.
Yes.
And it
I've been
doesn't
trained.
gel with you.
I've been trained.
Yes, and it doesn't gel with you. Much like how Mel feels about her career. So, but the more we're okay with it, the better we can create the one things that we want. Great.
Okay.
Now that we've gone through everybody's,
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for sharing. Okay, because it's way past time. So let's go into the wrap up where I would love to have each person share a bit about what you think what you really got out today, as well as what do you think you'll be working on after this because of the discoveries today. And let's go from there. Colin, do you mind sharing?
Me, yeah. Okay, give me a minute.
Take your time.
Yeah, I think this is a new concept of anti-values. And honestly, I haven't been thinking about my values for some time. So I had to go and think like, what exactly are my values? Oh yeah, balance. So of course, that reflection part is good, but I think the really cool thing was how by understanding our anti-values, we can actually free ourselves to actually pursue our values. Yeah. So I will have to think more about that, but I think that's the part that I will be pursuing. Yeah. So thanks for a great session.
Thank you, Colin, for your thoughts. What about Mel? What do you learn and what are you working on?
I guess you asking us to reflect on our anti-values helps me to understand myself, like especially in a conflict. Because like when you say values, you say that you value something, then in a conflict when that thing presents itself, like yeah, you're unable to identify it. Whereas when you see that conflict in a anti-value perspective, then you can understand like what was the reason for the disagreement and like the reasoning behind like each person's thoughts that led to that disagreement. Yeah, so I guess that was really helpful. And moving forward, I guess I have to work on overcoming a bit of the anti-values, like yeah, so that I can strive towards that value more.
Great. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Yura, what do you think?
Thank you. Even it's it's really cool. I'm so glad. Thanks, Alex, for organizing this. I'm so glad that I joined. I've been away for a while, and I think this is again new concept that I have just discovered. It's an amazing discovery. There's a lot of reflections that needs to be done. So thank you for this
Welcome.
enlightening evening.
Welcome. Thank you very much also for that. Thank you, Yura. So Alex, would you like to talk about your thoughts?
For me, I thought it's interesting a couple of things, right? One is that when you're focused on your values, you can be non-triggered by the anti-values, right? So if you're focused on honesty, it can be non-triggered by people who lie, which is some area for me to work on, right? In terms of what can I do so that I don't get triggered when the opposite happens. So that is one of the things that stood out a lot for me. How can I let go of those expectations and the need for the anti-values part? Yeah, actually, I think that's the main thing for me. Actually.
Great, thank you. So for me, I will be honest. The first time I introduced anti-values to people, I had such a hard time trying to share with people. If there's anything today, I'm just really glad that in about 1 hour, 40 plus minutes, we actually managed to get this across and help people kind of discover, hey, it's actually a very useful way of looking how we look at the world, right? Like, it's really about where our boundaries are unconsciously, whether or not we know it. We say we might value something, but we might actually act in a different manner. And putting words to it adds this little bit of clarity over how we want to manage it, how we want to improve ourselves, and how to manage the different people in our lives, right? Like, for example, some people might say they value harmony, but they actually always arguing with people who are not harmonious. So then it becomes confusing, right? But so there's a very clear reason why, because they're anti-conflict. But they might also be happy with the fact that they're conflicting with the other person, which I think is a very important thing to think about, because this can be a lot of the reasons why people are not performing to the level that they want to perform at. This also tells us why we lack the passion or the interest in certain things that we're dealing with, because it might rub on our anti-values rather than going against our values. Because sometimes it might just because, like, for example, I love teaching, but I cannot do one-to-one teaching because I'm anti-inefficiency. Right? Like when I was growing up, one-to-one teaching is too inefficient. I'd rather do a group of 10. It's a lot more efficient, right? So there's this anti-inefficiency that is always grinding me whenever that happens. So it's a real thing. And being okay with it is a large part of this process of getting to the next place, where am I okay with this inefficiency? Am I okay with this process? Can I find a way to get there? And that's really the goal of today's session, to get people to just be a little bit more aware about why things rub us and why we can't live up to our expectations or our values that we say that we have. And it's nothing wrong. It's just what it is. It is how our minds do work, and we can slowly let go of it to be a better version of that. And that's what I have to share. Thank you everybody here for joining us tonight for this quick connect. And thank you for listening to me sharing about this really unintuitive concept called anti-values. And we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time, where we haven't decided the topic yet, right?
Yep, we have not.
Thank you, Alex. We'll send the PDF into the Telegram group chat. Thank you, Yura. And thank you, Mel, Colin, Yura, Faith, and Ellie for being here tonight. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.